So again, welcome back. And I might fall asleep today with the big lunch I had. More than I should have. So again, we have been going through the practice, and then in terms of, like, I think I just finished up to page number 9, and from page number 10 from there, as you can see, it's not too difficult to understand. With each verse, you talk about individual 6 realms and their individual sufferings and the cause of the sufferings, and then requesting the Avalokiteshvara to heal those sufferings and clear those cause of the sufferings, the delusion, and then to help and guide them to lead to the land of Avalokiteshvara, So basically that is, and of course, in some of the 6 realms, whether there is a specific physical 6 realm or not, there is possible, it's not possible. Sometimes we don't know much about what is there, our perceptions, science, technologies, they don't know much outside of our world, and billions of galaxies and universe, we don't know what they are. So for sure, but for sure, whether there's a separate place or not, but even in human realm, even in animal realm, we see all this, the suffering, hell, suffering, intense hot suffering, intense cold suffering, frozen to death, burn alive, not in the wild. In the restaurant, sometimes they cook alive. In some restaurant, in some places, it's not dead. They're boiled alive. That is extreme hot sufferings. That is description of the hot realms sufferings. And and that also can be in human. Sometimes when humans are also born alive, caught by the wildfire. Sometimes other people's, for whatever reasons, So again, hungry ghosts. Again, we see in both suffering, intense suffering. Hunger and thirsty. We see in this world, within the human, within the animal realms, starved to death, dying without being able to find water to drink, dying without having food. And then, of course, animals, humans, we see God, demigod. We see again within the human, demigod is always out of jealousy, fighting with each other. Also in human realm, we have that, driven by the jealousies, greediness, fighting with each other, trying to kill each other, trying to hurt each other. That God realms, again we see, with the pride, with the pride, how we treat certain people, their pride is so strong, the way they treat others, and also, at the time of death, a lot of time, sometimes we might not be fearful of death at the moment, Sometimes a lot of people are not afraid, or they say, I'm not afraid of death. And they don't feel afraid at the moment. But when the time comes, that will be different. Then that is when it actually happens. And that is, I saw many times, even with myself and others, not with the death itself, but I saw a lot of people going for bungee jump. And they wanted to do it because they think they can do it. They didn't feel they had the fear. Once they are there, they back up, See so many people backing up, trying to push, and some of them, and then with so much fear, they jump, some of them, and some of them, even they couldn't jump and they back up. I saw that happening, in Nepal. So this is another, they didn't feel the fear until they were on that, when it was ready for jump, and when they saw the, down and everything's. And so that is a lot of things in our life, Until it happens, sometimes we feel, I'm not afraid of that. When it happens, that could be a totally different experience. No, I didn't go for jump. We're just observing. No. No, I wasn't going. We were not going for a jump. We just went because it is outside of Kathmandu, and it's a nice place where they had that different outdoor activities. We didn't do any of them. We just kind of stay and walk around there. But we saw people jumping. So the point was that, a lot of things, including the death. Of course, if someone has to prepare, then, that is one thing. You have trained, you are prepared. So even when you reach, but if you have not trained, if you're not prepared, then even we don't feel that way at the moment, So anyway, most of them, have certain level of fear, when it comes to their last, because we are going on. One, we're attached to this life. We don't want to live this life. Secondly is we are going in a place is unknown. We can believe something, we don't believe anything, but still is unknown. What is there after that? So therefore so in that sense, there is also kind of the suffering of the God realms, the fear at the time of death and suffering of that. And then the pride, so the God are those who are very pride, we have so much pride. Not the positive pride, but the delusional pride. So I think that is more or less with those. So I don't need to go each of them. Because since we also did the practice. And kind of then it is at the end of that, there is on page number 13, where may I in this and all future lives, through activities like that of Avalokiteshvara, liberate the beings of impure realms and transmit the supreme speech of 6 syllables throughout the 10 directions. So, creating intentions, praying and dedicating, and creating the motivation, intention, inspirations, that to follow like the Avalokiteshvara's path, like himself, out of compassion, helping, benefiting all the times, especially those who are in, impure realms where there's more sufferings, to be able to do that, And through the first invoking your Supreme Noble, may all with whom I have much discipline and guide. So those are the one who have strong karmic connections, Meaning whom I must discipline and guide means to whom we have a karmic connections to be their guide, to lead them, to help them, all sentient beings, but especially with whom we have stronger karmic connections, so we make those dedication prayers that we might be, take interest in the cause and effect and start to act virtually, help them to understand the karma, what is to be abandoned, what is to be practiced, and then through that, then helping, supporting them to, start to act virtuously and come to possession the quality that might benefit all, So whatever spiritual realization, skillful means, wisdom, compassion that we need, all the tools we need to be helping, benefiting, especially with those whom we have karmic connections. May I be able to possess and actualize all these qualities that can be the tools, the best skill mean, method, tools, wisdom, compassions, And not only we make those prayer dedication, also we try to practice, because it doesn't just come through dedications and prayers. It helps, definitely. Those help, but we have to practice to cultivate those qualities. If you don't practice and just praying, it's not going to come. You just pray every day, may I have bodhicitta mind, and you don't practice, it's not going to come that way. Just by that self. Prayer dedication are only one of the conditions that support in our practice. But main is that you need to really put into practice. When it comes to feeling our stomach, we don't just pray. Pray and then today may I have a, delicious food, momo, and wait until that and see by noon whether you can get it. So even though we wish, have the inspiration to have whatever food, nice food, whatever, but you make the effort to create that, to make that. Same in our practice. Prayer, dedications helps, but we need to really put into practice. Without that. And then next is kind of, what is that? through praying single pointed in this way. So that is again kind of the visualizations. Rays of light stream from the noble form, noble Avalokiteshvara's form, and with that light and nectar, as we didn't practice, purify all the impure karmic perceptions, all the delusions, and having purify and cleanse all these external, internal impure karmic perception, delusion, then the outer environment transform into a Sukhavati, blissful paradise, or Sukhavati, the pure land of Amitabha. So again, there is a potential when the sentient beings or living beings in that world, when their mind is totally transformed, when their mind is totally pure and clear, even the environment they experience is totally different. Even the environment that you experience is different. So that is when all the delusion, all the obscurations are being purified, then one can experience the environment and totally different. And the being within it, all the being within that, physically, vocally, and mentally, to take Avalokiteshvara, enlightened body, space, and mind. And in visualization, then after that, then we visualize the whole environment transform into the Amitabha Pure Land Sukhavata, and then living beings, all transform into the Avalokiteshvaras, all their speech transform into the mantras of Om Mani Padme Hum, the very essence of Avalokiteshvara, in their mind, transform into Avalokiteshvara's mind. And through that, the appearance, whatever we see, all the form of all Avalokiteshvara, all beings, the environment itself, all the sound that is, whether it's made by the natural sound or whether it's sound made by the beings, the mind, the awareness itself, everything become inseparable from emptiness. And then you try to meditate on emptiness, Then you try to meditate on emptiness, emptiness of the physical body, the Avalokiteshvara's form itself, your and all others, the emptiness of the sound of the mantras of coming from yourself and others, and the awareness of yourself, Avalokiteshvara, and others who are in Avalokiteshvara, try to meditate on emptiness, And when we try to meditate on emptiness, of course there are different way of meditating, using analysis, reasoning logics, and then coming to the conclusions, understanding that they are empty of inherent existence, with no doubt, absolute, and then trying to remain in that emptiness state, And that is same whether it's the physical appearance, the body, whether it's the sound, whether it's the awareness, all of them are empty of inherent existence. So you can do those analyze one by one, or you can do all of them put it together. If you have not done the analysis in the past for long, then maybe if you try to alter it, it might not make much. It might not be effective. So maybe you might have to go to individually each of them. But someone who has been doing that kind of practice meditation so many times, and with all, then you don't need to do so much. One might not need to do so much strong, detailed analysis reasoning and logics. Even just starting a brief reasoning and logic, you will be able to go in that state without any doubt that is empty of inherent existence. Not because it says, but your conviction because of that reasoning and logics. Not because the Buddha said, Nagarjuna said, but with your own reasoning and logic that you can come to absolute conclusion without absolute no doubt that is, and so remaining that. But sometimes, meditation is more on the mind itself, the awareness that is receiving the emptiness. And then in that sense, and you just try to rest in that awareness and try to empty all other thoughts, emptying all other thoughts except then that awareness that receives the emptiness, and resting that awareness, resting that mind, the awareness, the mind that receives the emptiness through some reason logic. And after that, without much reasoning, then it is kind of emptying all the thoughts. And so that you begin to see the awareness more clearly, see and perceive awareness more clearly and more clear nature of that without all the conception thoughts. So that is but for a beginner, of course, if you are trying to just kind of feel very bliss out, then even you can do from the very beginner, even that kind of meditation, just kind of emptying your thoughts. If you empty your thought, then you can feel without any thoughts, then you don't have all this disturbing thoughts, agitating thought, all of that. Then of course, you can feel very peace, calming, bliss. But if your practice of this is to really penetrate your wisdom so that you can destroy and penetrate the delusion and the ignorance, then at the very beginning, the focus should be on meditating the way it is according to the sutra, is through analyzing, investigating, reason and logic to come to that conclusion. And then really, when you are absolutely, there's no inherent existence, and then trying to rest in that emptiness. And again, using the reason logic, again coming that, again resting in that, again doing that. That is for the beginner. That's the way we do. I think we did one of the sessions yesterday. Is more from kind of tantric point of view, and that is on the basis you already have that awareness that receives the emptiness. And so then that is a different. And then in that meditation, then it is trying to improve that your awareness without any other thoughts. In that, and then you are trying to kind of empty all these other thoughts. Okay, I think maybe that is more or less a little bit. And in our practice, I didn't focus that. I just tried to focus more on the compassion part, trying to feel the compassion, because it is more related with Avalokiteshvara in that way, and also that was what we wanted. But also, if you want, you can also, do an emptiness meditation at that time while you are reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum, And then is the dedication. As I and others appears as a noble, enlightened form. All sound take the melodies of 6 syllable mantra, and all thoughts are expansion of great primordial to positivity merit of this through such practice that we try to visualize in that way. May I swiftly attain the realization of Avalokiteshvara, and also dedicating all this merit for that. Thereby, every single sentient being reach his state of perfection too, of the Avalokiteshvara state, so that everyone achieve the Buddha Avalokiteshvara state. And as I mentioned before the lunch, as I mentioned before the lunch, also during the post meditations, as I mentioned, if you are really focused on this practice in terms of retreat or in terms of everyday practice, and if you want to really more focus on that, then throughout the day, you try to hold. Of course, again, to hold yourself in the divine pride in the form of Avalokiteshvara, of course, you need to have the initiations. Otherwise, you cannot do it. So you can visualize in front. Otherwise, if you have that, and if you do that, empowerment, and you have that, then you try to keep divine pride as a Avalokiteshvara throughout the day, in every activity, cooking, anything you do throughout that, you think you always hold the image of yourself as Avalokiteshvara, and trying to see every sentient being as Avalokiteshvara, training yourself, and every things that come from your mouth, every sound you hear, you try to think them all as mantras of Avalokiteshvara, Om Mani Padme Hum. Every thoughts, every conception, thought, whatever appears throughout your day, good or bad, try to see they all are display and manifestations of that primordial awareness, the wisdom of Avalokiteshvara. And with that, and then not grasping to some, not having aversion, not liking some, not disliking some. So, we just kind of whatever appears, let it appear, and try to see all as display in that. So that is more kind of the practice, certain level of tantric practice, trying to see everything as pure, not only yourself or everything. So that is how that is practice one trend. And then there is final dedication of that prayers, and then through the merit of practice and visualizing, recitation and mantra, may I and all those with whom I'm connected, karmically connected, be, and to some extent we all are connected karmically. When you talk about everyone have been your parents, friends, children's, so many times, but still with some you have more stronger connection than others. Because with some you have more connection. With some maybe you have connection, but maybe not as many. And even when you have connection, with some you have stronger connection than others. Through that, then stronger karmic connection you have, then one can be more helpful, benefit in that way. Be reborn miraculously in blissful paradise of Sukhavati, whether Amitabha Pure Land. After the very moment we leave this impure body behind, as soon as we are born there. And the reason to born there, is not to just free to kind of escape the sufferings, because there's no sufferings. It's not to escape the sufferings, but to be able to practice without the sufferings. So then, not being distracted by the suffering, so we can continue to practice there. And may there we fully traverse the 10 stages and on the Bodhisattva stages through the 5 Bodhisattva path and 10 bhumi of the stages. and then having achieved Buddhahood, or even at the 10th stage, the 10 bhumi, then send out emanations to act for the benefit of others' welfare throughout 10 directions. Then the bodhisattvas also can manifest, send emanations across Buddha, and whatever's in all 10 directions, whatever's most helpful to liberate and to help. So that is what it is. So with that, I think it's kind of short, roughly, the practice. That is the conclusion of practice. Then we added a little bit normal our dedications at the end. As I said last time, there are like around 20, 21 different sutras of Buddha's teaching, dharanis, from which there is about Avalokiteshvara practice and money, and I already kind of mentioned one of them before a little bit. Again, I don't know exactly what the Sutra of Arya Samatok, in that there is that, again, Supreme Red Buddha or Marpo, is saying to one of the bodhisattvas, Tipanam Sel, one of the eight bodhisattvas, explaining and saying, "O Mani Padme Hum," these mantras, if you hold or if you touch or hold on your body, it will leave imprint your body to achieve Vajra body in the futures, and it is almost like the stupas, object of your body become like the stupa, holy objects, just by having the mantra on your body. And through that, one will be able to actualize the awareness of Tathagatas. And say, even you recite one time such mantras, you will achieve, or you will generate, maybe not immediately, but with that, over the time, great confidence, incredible confidence, and heaps of exalted wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness. One will be able to achieve, actualize those. And it will be like almost like, practicing every day the 6 perfections. And eventually you become a bodhisattva that never return. And then finally you will achieve fully enlightenment. If this such Om Mani Padme Hum mantra is written on a wall or on a rock, and if you touch those things which has mantras, and if you see them, then again it purifies a lot of negative karma. And it will lead create a lot of merit, and it will lead to achieve, become a bodhisattva in the future, and so forth. And it says this mantras is the very heart of the Avalokiteshvara practice. Is the very essence or the heart of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara's heart practice. So whoever hear the mantra, whoever recite it, whoever contemplating it, they will create a lot of merit. So there's many like that in all those sources. So I just read just one of them. So yeah, I will open for the questions now. We have, any questions either in Zoom here or in person?
Yeah, Shala, we have one on Zoom. We're not sure if Stella had a question or not. Her mic was off, but we do have one from Mary Jo. Hi, Mary Jo. I do not understand the general in verse 5. It's the last word in section 5. Of all the vehicles, lesser, greater, and general.
That general, I think, because when I looked at Tibetans, I think that refer to common practice.
Okay.
Common vehicle or practice. So that is common to both Sutta, Tantras,
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then
there's Bill and Andrew.
We have Andrew, and then we've got two from Terry too. Terry will ask Bill first.
Thank you. Yes, my Western mind is confused about regret, and in the sense that when I am doing a purification meditation or an emptiness type meditation, when I have worries and regrets pop up in my mind, I'm essentially taking the regrets and I'm putting them on a cloud and then watching it float away. But then on other times when I'm meditating more analytically, I'm looking at that regret and trying to understand it. Why am I regretful about this? And then ultimately, once I understand it, I may reach this place where I would never do this again. I truly regret what I did. I understand what I did, and I would never do it again to harm any other sentient being. But then also, I reach a point where I may look back on that regret and say, okay, you're at this place now, you're a different person. You are not that same person that did this harmful thing, X time in the past. So I look at it that way as almost a yardstick in terms of where I am now. Like I have progressed beyond this stage where I did something harmful, and I can't say I feel good about it, but I definitely don't feel as anxiety ridden about it as when that regret initially pops up in my mind. So I guess my question is what's a different way, or maybe a better way of thinking about regrets? It's like something you should pass off and just put on a cloud and then watch it totally wash away. But on the other hand, are regrets also good because they keep in our mind, because they teach us in terms of where we've been and where we're going? Again, I'm sorry, but I'm very confused about this.
Thank you.
First of all, normally I try to differentiate regret, positive regret, negative regret. Just like the fear can be positive and negative. There's positive fear and negative fears. In same way, and the way I differentiate, even though I don't know in English term itself whether that define regret or not. But negative regret is we remember something we did bad in the past. We regret, we remorse. But sometimes we cannot move forward. We get stuck with that. Do you get it? We get stuck with that and then started beating up ourselves. How horrible, how bad, and never being able to let go of that. That is what I call negative regret. Because you get stuck in the past, something that we make a mistake, but we shouldn't get stuck there. But because of that, we keep on stuck in the past. Positive regret is that, as we see in purification practice, we talk about 4 opponent powers, and one of them is regret. And that is what I call positive regret. And that is we recognize something we did mistake in the past, and we acknowledge that. We acknowledge and recognize that was not something helpful, beneficial. It was something harmful. And so we don't feel good about that. We understand that was not good. But then we move forward. It's past. It's past. We acknowledge that. We are aware of that, acknowledge that, then we don't get stuck in the past. And it's about how to change now. We have the opportunity to change. We have the opportunity to move forward and change, not to remain same as a person or as actions. And so that is what I call positive regret. And that is needed and helpful and positive. It helps us to recognize such actions was not something positive and helpful, so that we don't create again, so that we don't try to repeat that again, and then leading towards more transformations better. So, in such, then that positive regret is good. It helps you to move forward and to help to move in a positive transformations, because of that. I don't regret, if I don't say there's something wrong, bad, then I wouldn't try to change it. I wouldn't try to change my behavior, my actions. Only when I see that was something not good, something bad, something not beneficial, then only when I see, only when I'm able to acknowledge, when I'm able to accept that, and then the next stage of wanting to change such behavior, wanting to improve the behavior of oneself. So I would say that. So in purification, I think we try to bring that positive regret. And then, every day, even when you are not doing purification, sometimes those thoughts arises, they are just pop up sometimes suddenly here and there. So sometimes regret pop up, And then in some cases, one of the practice, as you say, you can just see it as clouds coming and going, and not to kind of hang on that, because if you get hang on that, then sometimes it can lead to the negative feelings about that, and becoming too harsh on yourself, on that, feeling you are, how horrible you are, how horrible, how bad I am, all of that can sometimes lead to a dark space, that can lead to a dark space for certain people, very, very dark space. So the point is, when those thoughts arises, we don't cling on them, we don't hold on them, we don't try to make a big deal about it, we just watch it coming and watch it going. Just like watching the clouds coming and going, the nature of that, those minds, thoughts, fear, regret, whatever, it comes and goes, comes and goes. But sometimes we make big deal about it and we hold on that, and then it doesn't comes and goes. It remains for a long time, And when it remains for a long time, then it can have a negative impact, as I said, taking it with it sometime in a dark space. So yeah, so I think there is no contradictions doing those practice at different times. The positive regret is when you do purification is part of that, important for the purification part of that. And again, yeah, okay, that is all my.
Geshe, we have 2 questions on Zoom for Terry. Then after Terry, we have Andrew and then Venerable Lamo.
Okay.
So Terry, would you like to unmute, please?
Yes, ma'am. Geshe, thank you so much for this teaching. It was very enjoyable and just very clear. I really appreciate it. My questions, I'm wondering if I can get you to talk a little bit more about karmic linkages. The stories that you told were of 2 monks who were struggling because they couldn't see who they had karmic linkages with. And as soon as they got closer to the people they had karmic linkages with, they succeeded a lot more quickly. Is it possible to tell is it possible from my side to tell who I have karmic linkages with? And then are there ways to build karmic linkages? Because there's, a couple of my teachers I'm trying to annoy a whole lot, so I have some karmic linkages with them.
I don't have the answer. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to know with whom we have strong karmic connections. Even in that, bodhisattvas crying all the time and both of Chopak. Even that he was advised by the Buddhas, actually saying him that you have a strong karmic connection, that bodhisattva you should find and study with him. And it is said the moment he heard that is just something really shifts in his mind, some special feelings arises. And then when you saw his very different experiences, even when he first met it, even before he met it, something that touched him so much that one of the reasons always crying when he's going to see him, when he's going to meet him, that was one of the factors. So that was in his cases. That is, it was same with Milarepa too. When the other teachers, well, when Milarepa asked him, whether you have the instructions to achieve, when he first went and met and wanted to study, and whether he has the instruction to achieve enlightenment in one lifetime, whether he will be willing to give. And the teacher says, yes, I have instructions, teachings, practice, that if you practice in the day, you can achieve enlightenment in the day. If you practice in the night, you can achieve enlightenment in the night. And so he stayed there and he studies, but he became very lazy. sleeping, or I can achieve enlightenment. You know, because he thought, oh, this teacher has these incredible instructions and practice. So I don't know, I don't need to work very hard. You know, I could achieve enlightenment in a very short period. And so he became kind of lazy and not practice. And the teacher saw that. And he says, you know, you are not suitable for my instruction and teachings, you know. And he said, there's another master's and translator called Marva, and you have strong karmic connection on that. You should go there. And so also with Milarepa, when he heard Marva, something again, you know, he had a very strong feeling, something moved his mind, you know. So then when he went there, you know, and Marva approached the totally opposite, you know. He ignored him completely. He put him to all the hard work at the very beginning, you know. From our ordinary point of view, you might say he abused him very badly, you know. But that was not the Marva's intentions, and Milarepa also understood that it was part of purification he needed in order for the instructions to really become to have a success in his practice and that. And purification because of so much negative karma he has created previously, you know, killings and all different things. So anyway, so it is very hard for us to understand with whom we have strong karmic connections, you know. Sometimes we might feel certain emotion with someone, but sometimes it doesn't mean much. You know, it's just, in some cases, it could be karmic connection, just like Milarepa and that Chandrasambha, the Bodhisattva. But sometimes it doesn't always necessarily mean that, you know. We can be very emotional, and sometimes it's a moment of you are going through something and you meet someone, and then that triggers something and your emotion becomes strong, you know. And then we started to cry, tears started to come, you know, you start to feel something special in that moment, or you think, oh, this is the one, you know, this is the one. After 1 year, maybe you might have totally different perception, how horrible he was, or she was, you know, all these things. So it's hard to trust for ordinary beings, you know. We don't know when we feel something in that moment, sometimes it's hard for us to know what was the cause, what was the main cause to feel that way in that moment. So I wish I had that answer, because I will be also interested for that. But at the same time, even you don't have a strong karmic connection, you build up karmic connections. I can't, definitely there is some karmic connection for me to go to the monastery, in Kopan monastery, especially in Kopan monasteries, which is totally different lineage from my parents. And to have met the Rinpoche and to get the ordination, there is some karmic connection, but I didn't feel any special at the very beginning, you know, for 10, 15 years. I mean, definitely I saw Rinpoche, I received some advice, teachings from him here and there, you know, but it's much more later, you know, so it is kind of build up. It's kind of all those 3 years is a build up, and I started to see things that I didn't see before. I started to feel things that I didn't feel before. My eye was able to my mind, I was able to see a lot of things that maybe before it wasn't special, or it might just seem ordinary. But later I say it was not ordinary. It is exceptional, and you can call it. So again, is over the time that you see through studying more, through having more interactions, through observations, all different things help. And so now I feel very strongly karmically connected, and that is same with some other my teachers that I studied in Sera. Couple of teachers, I was sent to them by my abbot, my teacher from Kopan. He told me go and study with them, 2 teachers. And then, with one teacher, I couldn't get much classes because he was busy at one time because he was abbot. So there's a lot of other things he needed to, so his teaching became a little bit less. One of my other teachers was kind of traveling a little bit. And then again, I started to look for another teachers. And that one, there are so many teachers in Sera, so I just try to find myself. So basically, those 3 teachers are from whom I kind of study mainly in Sera, and those are my main teachers. And also, at the very beginning, I don't feel I have a special karmic connection with them. I just went to the classes, I just studies. But it, again, with the time, it built up, it built up with the time as you study more with them, as you see, observe them, being around them and observing, their what do you call their activities, the way they treat others, the way they interact with others, all of that, so yeah, sometimes it's not like, sometimes we don't have to find. Of course, if we can find, that is wonderful, but sometimes we can build up that too. It's like that. We don't have to look for a house already built. It will be nice to buy one and move there, but when you cannot find it, you can build yourself. When you have the skills and with the help of others, you can build yourself. And basically, at the end, you have the house. That is what we want. Yeah, so yeah.
Terry, did you have a second question? Terry, you're muted.
No, those were both of my questions. I don't need any more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. So now we're going to move to Andrew.
Thank you. And for the opportunity to practice patience.
Yeah.
And restraint.
Yeah, you had to practice patience since the lunchtime. Or actually this morning, because you rest this morning. Yeah.
The 4 immeasurables really, they get me right here. And the fact that every sentient being, has the right to attain that, has the ability to do enlightenment. I mean, to me, that's like the essence right there. I really appreciated your discussion this morning about doubts, because I think we all have doubts, kind of, when you're talking about regrets, it's like regrets, doubts. And I really appreciate the tools that I've been learning here on how to deal with doubt, impermanence, meditation, so on and so forth. I'm sure when you have doubts, you use the same tools. And I love the wheel of Dharma too. Like, that's a new concept to me. I mean, a lot of them are new concepts. There's something very similar in Judaism during the Passover Seder, where there's the 4 questions. Why is this night different than all other nights? And they answer the question 3 different ways, the same question, depending on, the wise son. Very similar. What would you say to somebody who has no Dharma practice, no language, to inspire them that, hey, you can also achieve enlightenment? What would you say to inspire that person?
I will cook them nice pie. That will inspire them enlightenment. If I give you pie, I like that pie. If you can give me every day that pie, maybe I will practice. Like the dogs, you give them treats, and after some time, then they will repeat that. Even when you don't have treats. I think I personally feel, and also, being the example is the best to inspire someone. Whether as a friends, whether as a children, whether as a parent, after the children or parent or friends, after they started practicing the Dharma, and there is some transformation, and they see that. They see the change. They see the transformations. And then even it is something, even before they kind of have against such spiritual path or practicing Dharma, someone, then they start to be more open. Because they see there's something positive in that. Even though they don't believe it, but they see it is doing something positive to their child, their friends, their parents. They see, in some cases, they see they are more compassionate, they are more kind, they are more patient, whatever different qualities. And that is the best way to inspire someone. We don't have to tell them that you should practice it, you should study it, but just by that, they get curiosity. What is there? What is it there that make him change or her to change? And from their side, the question will arise. From their side, what do you do? What do you practice? And that will be the beginning of conversation. That is the beginning of giving suggestions. So, and I've heard many stories about, students whose parents were not supportive of their path at the very beginning, but they started to become more opening and supportive after they have seen the changes, positive in that, So, and I think that is kind of the best way to inspire someone. And then, sometimes maybe sharing or giving a certain or a book, which is more kind of is kind of more based in Buddhist practice or teaching, but more kind of secular, And when they read it, maybe they might be more open to it. And if they find something helpful, maybe they might be inspired to go a little further and to study the others. So I think, I guess it depends on individual, that person as well, how open they are and what they are interested or not, I think if they are not interested, I don't think we should push them. we can only inspire for your own examples, and maybe they might. Yeah, but of course, if someone is open and someone is want to, from their side, they ask or they are interested, and then we can recommend, we can suggest, certain books that might be more suitable for them. And so, yeah, I think those are the things that I can only think of. Yeah.
Geshe, Venerable Tenzin Lama has a question.
Okay.
She says, Geshe, thank you. If we have had the empowerment of 1,000-armed Chenrezig, can we do a private counting retreat using this beautiful sadhana?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. One can do that.
Venerable, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Geshe. It's been a wonderful weekend. Geshe, when it's spoken that we can delight the Buddhas with our offerings and our practices, the Buddhas exist in a state of calm abiding and bliss. What does it mean when we say we delight them? I mean, we're attributing sort of an emotion to the Buddhas.
Did you get the questions? Delight. Yeah, okay. What, what I know, there was one verse, when we make the offering, delightfully accepted. I think that was what it was. Yeah, we imagine or visualize that they accept it delightfully, joyfully. So of course, if I offer someone and someone doesn't accept delightfully, I will be disappointed. Oh, did I make the wrong offerings? He was not appreciated for that. So, it could. So I think that is kind of, we visualize, we imagine, accepting with such a delight, with such a joy, and also because, when the Buddha sees that you are engaged in a practice, and Dharma practice on the path, then definitely he will be delighted, because that is what he wants to see. It's like a parent who wants to put their children in a certain path or certain directions, and when the children do themselves in that way, and when they see they are on that path, and the parent will be happy and delight. And so, yeah, so I think maybe that's.
Did that answer your question, Venerable?
I'll think about it.
Okay.
It still seems like we're attributing or imputing emotions to a Buddha.
Well, yes, to some extent. And a lot of things we are imputing to the Buddhas because of the way our psychology works. So it is more to do ourselves, than the Buddha himself. It's more to do the way we feel, the way we try to see certain way, that way we like to see sometimes. And in our visualization, our creative mind, we create that. So we feel good about it. When I visualize the Buddha accepting, whether he's at that emotion and whether he's excited or delighted or not, but when I imagine that he's delighted that way, it makes me feel good. My offering was accepted well. If I imagine him not being delighted, I will be disappointed, And so it is more to do with us than actually the Buddha. So, yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I think we have one more short question here. Oh, wait, we have two questions. We have three short questions, short.
Actually, it's just two quick follow-up. So do you see that kind of language in the sutras?
Which one?
Delight, the imputed human emotions. Is that in the sutras or no?
We don't say sutra, but you see in tantric teachings.
Oh, really? Oh.
You know,
So-
because within the Buddha's teachings, sutra means non-tantric teachings of the Buddha, and then the tantric we call gu, which is mantra or tantra's teachings, and that could be by Buddha or by the other Indian masters as well as Tibetan masters as well.
But I just wondered if that language had crept in through the masters, not through the Buddha's words.
Yeah,
You know.
I cannot say for sure.
So my question quickly was, a while back you mentioned how Atisha, when he came to Tibet, remarked on, how in India there were many gods, but they focused on one, but he was sort of laughing at the Tibetans with all these gods. My question is, what's the Dalai Lama's position on that sort of cultural thing of all these deities?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't say for sure from His Holiness what he thinks about that, because I cannot recollect any clearly, specifically regarding that questions. But also, even in India, there are also naming practitioners who had many, many deities. Including Adishas. At the very beginning of his life, he received many, many different initiations from many different teachers. Maybe later he focused on particular one deities. I think his personal deity was Tara, and he relied on Tara for many of the big decisions spiritual decisions he made. Whether he should go to the Tibet or not, and many others. And also in Katamba lineage, there isn't too many deities, only 4 deities. So the Katamba are more what we call more simplistic, okay, about the Mahayana Buddhist. Is combination of both Tantra and Sutra, but more simplistic, with not too many rituals, with not too many deities, and Lama Tsongkhapa is continuity of that, and Lama Tsongkhapa's tradition called New Katambas, basically. Normally, normally that is what it. And Lama Tsongkhapa kept the Adishas, that the Katamba tradition mainly, but then in Katamba tradition there was no high yoga tantra, so he added the high yoga tantra practice, and that was where.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So the question was why he added with what reasoning, and because within the Tantra there are four classes of Tantra, and highest yoga Tantra is the kind of the most advanced and the highest of that, and so he felt that was also need to include it. He didn't want to leave that one. It was, he didn't develop that. It was coming from India, and all other Tibetan Buddhists were also practicing at that time, all the other lineage that existed even before that. And among them, he took mainly 3 of them and then focused on that. He wrote a commentaries, practice regarding that, Yamataka, Guya Samaja, Chakra Sambhara, mainly those 3. So, yeah. Yeah, we have time. We can, and like, if those who need to go, if they have appointment or anything, you don't have to feel bad to leave if needed. Yes, Susan.
Thank you. Hi, Susan. Thank you for the teachings. My question is about, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
When you talked about the dedications and then the three, if I understood correctly, the three types that are most beneficial, dedicating to the enlightenment of all beings, the spread of the Dharma, and the longevity of the masters. Somehow along the way, I don't know where I learned this in my different teachings, but I feel I was taught to dedicate to the teachers I study with. So I would dedicate, like after I do a workshop or something in my mind, to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Garchen Rinpoche, who is my root teacher. And I'm wondering if I should be adding at the end and the benefit of the enlightenment of all beings, or if that's an equal benefit that I'm just, or did I misunderstand that that's who I should dedicate to? So I'm just confused about what I've been doing and if it's appropriate or what would be more beneficial. Thank you.
As I mentioned, I think those three dedications that said those are most beneficial by Lama Tsongkhapa. And the way he reasoned is happiness of sentient beings rely on the Dharma. Through practicing the Dharma, actualizing the Dharma, that's how they can achieve. So it's flourishing and remaining Dharma for a long time is important for the happiness of sentient beings. So basically, indirectly, it's for the happiness of sentient beings. Always, that is the reasoning for that. And same with the longevity of the masters, because again, the teachings come through the masters, because we cannot study by ourselves, at least without relying on teachers at the very beginnings, So therefore, longevity of teachers is important to receive the Dharma teachings and Dharma teaching to actualize and through the happiness of sentient beings. So those are the way. But again, dedicating for well-being all sentient beings, that's great. I think that will be as equal as that. So sometimes even with this practice, I go through this sadhana and different sadhana, different texts, and sometimes certain teachers, master might emphasize focus on certain things, but that doesn't mean that is the only way. Even within my teacher, different teacher might emphasize on different things, even in terms of whether it's their practice, whether their advice to me or the students. So so I think there's nothing incorrect, wrong with what you have been doing, and and then last,
My name is Patty, and Geshe, thank you very much for your enchanted teachings. My question is just a follow-up to Bill's, and how would you suggest one work with negative regrets? Thank you.
Thank you for the enchanted questions. I think there are certain things that we need to see. One of the things that on fundamental level, I think we have to understand on fundamental level that we are not faulty. Okay, on fundamental level, as we discussed on Friday the true nature of our mind, true nature of our self, not polluted, not diluted, not faulted in its basic nature. That is who we are. That's what our nature is. I think to have that fundamental, that really strong basic is very important. One of the things, it seems to me, or my impressions, observation, as well as talking from others, is I think in the West, even though maybe most of the people or many of people doesn't follow Christianity, many of them, but still their culture is kind of influenced by that. On a fundamental level, there's sense of you are sin, from that culture, that you are bad on the fundamental level, sin. And it seems that might have some effect, that on unconscious level, even you are not aware of it, but that is ingrained in your culture. Even you don't believe that religion, that philosophy, even you have given up, even you left behind, but on culturally, on subtle cultural level is ingrained in some way, and that therefore, I think it seems to me that is coming from that, where people have self-hatred, self-lauded, and all of that based on that, So I think it's very important to have understanding and strong strong confidence in that our fundamental basic fundamental level, that we are not bad, that we are fundamental level, we are good, compassionate, unfolded. And whereas all these mistake, faults, that we make, is, from different conditions, different environment, that affect us, as well as, when we are not exposed to the tools to deal with them, and when you don't have exposed, when you don't have the tools, then even when we know the tools, sometimes again we forget to apply the tools. Sometimes we forget to apply the tools. But basically, so that, knowing all these are temporary, as we talk, whereas our fundamental basic level is kind, compassionate, and unfolded in that way. So that is one important factor to have that very strong base. And secondly, the negative karma that we have created, whatever actions we engage in, they are impermanent. The nature of those are impermanent. They got to change. They are changeable. They will change. It's not going to remain same without any changes. So again, strong understanding of impermanent helps. When you don't see that, then we kind of hold it a bit static, static, and then unchangeable statics. And then again, that when you have that kind of impressions or belief or grasping, then again, it will be much more difficult to not to feel so negative to oneself for such actions and such behaviors, because we have strong grasping to that. That action, instead of seeing, is kind of down story, ever changing, ever moving phenomena. Then another thing that can be helpful is, to be kind and compassionate to oneself. You know, by knowing, you know, if you are not Buddha, even the Bodhisattva make mistake. As much as the Bodhisattva is such a incredible, kind-hearted, compassionate, totally dedicated for others, it doesn't mean they don't make mistake. Still they make mistake. Not only the, you know, even a high level of Bodhisattva can still make mistake because they are not free from all the obscurations, all the illusions, obscurations. They make less, but still. So even those, you know, Bodhisattvas, because of not having purified or not having overcome or eliminated all the obscurations, even if they make mistake, of course I will make mistake. You know, that doesn't mean okay that no, I can make mistake all the time and then I can do next time and like that. But you know, despite trying, sometimes we make mistake. You know, sometimes we make mistake. We didn't know better at that time, isn't it? If we know better, we would not have done that. But we didn't know better at that time. We know better. So again, you know, being an ordinary sentient beings is a natural. That is why we're sentient beings. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sentient beings. You know, we still have delusions. If we have the delusions, when delusion arises, we are going to do some things that we might regret later, that we might feel good about it. But in the moment, when the delusion becomes strong, and that is what happens. And we, as long as we are ordinary sentient beings, we all have the delusions. You know, you are the not only one, we are the not only one, you know. And so with that, I think with being more kind, compassion, more understanding to oneself, and to have those the foundation understandings can be helpful not to get stuck for the mistake we made in the past. You know, not to get stuck for the mistake we made in the past. Instead, it will help us to move forward. So I think those are some of the basic understanding. And then also, you know, if we try to look from many stories at the Buddha's times and much more later, you know, I mean, yeah, as I mentioned the story, I don't know when I mentioned, but now I get confused whether this weekend or one of the other classes. Angulimala, who killed 999 people, even him purified later when he regretted, purify, and when he really put his effort in the practice, he is able to achieve high level realizations. Not only purify the negative karma, but very high realization. I don't exactly remember whether he reached the Arya stream Gyunshuk, stream continuity, or Arhat, one of them. And so he reached Arhat even in that lifetime. Arya, you know. So again, you know, if there's such a strong negative karma can be purified, and that we can actually even achieve high level of spiritual realizations in the path, then we should be also trusting in our own that also, no matter how bad, it can be purified. I don't have to hold on that. I don't have to be so obsessed with that. You know, I don't have to be so caught up in that. You know, it can be purified, and if I make effort, you know, not only I can purify that negative karma, I can achieve very high realizations, very high spiritual practice. So I think maybe working with all these different factors, maybe might be helpful. Okay, we do the final dedications.
Geshe, we would like to offer the Thanksgiving mandala.
Yeah, we can do quickly.
2 verses, please.
Oh, by the way, I think these 5 Jnana Buddhas, because we spoke about the 5 Buddha families, Anil brought it to share, and then here the names, Amoka City, Birojana white, Amoka City green, Amitabha red, and Ashobhaya blue, and Ratna Sambhava. And those are the syllables of each of the Buddhas. Okay.
Sajipu.
Kyonshin Meto Ram Ri Ra Shi Yen De Ye Pa De Sangye Shin Tu Mi De O Wa Do Kwe Namanda Shin La Che Parai Sho Jesu Lam
Jesu Lama Na.
Ishukun Kala Kenze Shuzinti Shida Sambe Duje Zema Saki Shiki Chapa Abduso Idam Gurula and Alagam Niataya.
I'd like to introduce Nina if you don't know Nina.
May I give a little speech now or later, Geshe? What's your preference?
Yeah, you can give.
All the time.
Yeah.
Long speech. I just wanted to say that throughout the retreat, sort of like since Friday, I think probably 10 or 15 people came up to me and they're like, we don't know what's going on. We just feel so happy. We're so comfortable. We're so bubbly. We have got so much energy suddenly and stuff like that. And people came up to thank me for that. And I must say well, Geshe spoke about it the whole weekend, that everything is a dependent arising. And I must say that the way you feel, I feel the same way. And the reason for that is because each and single one of us here and of us on Zoom is the cause of that. So each of you contributed directly, indirectly, by being here, by supporting us. And I was thinking about all those different causes, you know. First of all, we have this amazing center, which has been here for 20 plus years, and hundreds of people probably by now put hours of tireless work and a lot of money to make this building possible, to make us comfortable here, to make it possible that we can sit in armchairs in a gompa. That's special. And then on this technology that is making it possible for people all over the world to join. I mean, so much work went into it. And then for the last few weeks, and I'm not going to even name any names because I probably would forget somebody, so many people were involved in planning of this, in ordering things, in creating registration forms. People contributed in so many ways for this event to happen. And I just want to say collectively thank you, because I know it's late. There are amazing volunteers and amazing people, amazing members in the center, and it's making it a lot of fun to be here. And that's why we are all so happy. Last but not least, Geshe, this would not be happening without you, and you know that. So next time a doubt comes in your mind, whether it's beneficial what you're doing, and whether you should continue or not, please don't. Please don't ask the Buddhas, don't do any mows, ask us. We will tell you, yes, very beneficial, and please, Geshe, continue. At least minimum until everybody in this room and on Zoom becomes enlightened. And the best until the whole universe becomes enlightened. So you got more work to do. So please, no doubts. Thank you so much for your teachings, Geshe, this weekend. I'm sure that all of us felt some softness that came to our hearts, and a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more openness to others. And that is thanks to your words and thanks to the Buddha Dharma that you presented to us and helped us practice this beautiful sadhana, as Venerable Lama mentioned before. So we are very, very grateful. And we prepared a little offering from everybody here, from everybody on Zoom, and from all your students around the world and all sentient beings, with a request that you continue to teach. And I need 30 more seconds. I'm not completely finished yet. Because I said I wasn't going to name any names, but I lied. I didn't realize, but I didn't lie on purpose. But I just want to say that there's one person in this room that I have to name by name, and that is our SPC, Venerable Trontrup. He's always sitting in the back. He hardly says any word, but and I officially carry the label of director. But if there's a boss in this room, he's sitting right there. Venerable, you spent so much time planning this event and all those different events. We have, I think, 30 plus events happening every week, and they are all coordinated by Venerable. Venerable is not only our planner, he also does all the magic with microphones, with all the cameras. He knows more about the center than any of us does. And we just wanted to thank you that you are here supporting us and making it all possible. Thank you very much. and now a couple of admin things. So right now we will have, for those who would wish to, a short kata offering, the traditional kata offering. If you didn't bring a kata, don't have one, feel free to, or is it after dedications? Okay, after dedications. Thank you, Mary. Feel free to grab one, or if you have a kata and already offer and somebody would like to offer, please share your kata with them. They can be offered more than once. And after the dedications, before you leave, if you still have some time, there will be the last energy boost in form of Qigong. So for those who wish to stay, please stay. It will be fun. And also, Mary mentioned that there will be a children's program starting on Sundays, starting on the 1st of October. And there are some flyers for that printed out right by the exit. So if you have a favorite cafe or library or somewhere where you think you could hang up a flyer, feel free to grab one and hang it up. And if we run out, then just let me know and I'll send you a PDF to print out. And if you would like to, I'll use the opportunity because a lot of people are here and a lot of people are on Zoom as well. If you would like to become one of our volunteers or one of our precious Zoom hosts, just let us know and we will have a job for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, everyone. Gewadi la do ma Jancho Samcho Rinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyurchi Ke Wana Pa Me Payam Gong Ne Gong Du Pel War Sho Ganri Rawe Korwe Shin Kam Dear Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwene Chenrezig Wa Tenzin Gyatso Yi Jape Site Bardu Tengyurchi. Rinpoche Swift Return Prayer. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. We also pray for Geshe-la's long life. Thank you, Geshe-la. Please remain. Please teach us.
So again, if you want to need to practice that sadhana, that would be nice to continue. But whether you follow the sadhana or not, but the essence of the retreat is trying to improve our sense of love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. That is the whole essence, and that is something we all try to work. We might not be there immediately, but if we keep on doing that with the time, definitely we will see small improvements, small changes, and that is what it is. Enlightened might be very far away. It might be very close, depending on individuals, but definitely you will see some positive changes if we continue to practice. Not just during the retreat, but because this is just for coming together, and for some is learning how to do it. And then once you get the tool, and you try to bring in your everyday. So that is what I wanted to kind of just remind. And then, also I like to thank personally for everyone who participated during this weekend, whether in Zoom or by in persons, and making the effort and time, energy, resource. And then for all the director, Nina, especially Venerable Tundu, and everyone others volunteers, who have put so much effort to make it happen, and smoothly and enjoyable. So again, just as Nina said, I'm not going to take all names because I don't know everyone who is involved there technically, except I see some more obvious, but also there are a lot of people who works that I'm not aware. And so, but thank you. And like all Dharma centers, we function on the basis of students, other generosity, and the volunteers, generosity in terms of their time, in terms of whatever they can afford. And so again, without that, we wouldn't be here today, and we wouldn't have this opportunity. So everyone that who made it happen, and then definitely, as Nina, Venerable Tundu has been, since he came, he has been a lot of work. Sometimes I worry, and I've even told him, but he's hanging out there, so he must be doing okay. So thank you everyone, thank you.